Come on, Ford, we believe
Fist
in
me
you.
and fist me good. Here we
Ford
go.
that could. Let's do it. Ooh, brake boost. Nice.
Nice bit of torque.
Pick up.
Okay, 0 to 60. It feels like it's building. Come on.
Come on. Here we go. That's good. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh,
So,
no. 0 to 100 in seconds. I'm so proud of myself. I went to Japan and got like one of 450 of these. I feel like people are going to be like, you do get halogen bulbs.
what the frick? We also have locked the rear diff, which...
Well, that doesn't sound like it. Without a doubt, Ford nailed their Ranger Super Duty, 100%. But I've got to be honest, I kind of think they've done the opposite with the Ford Ranger PHEV. Now, the Ford Ranger PHEV is fit for purpose for what they wanted. They wanted a Ranger that was plug-in hybrid-ified. Right? So they wanted something that was still very much a Ranger. So it keeps all of the good stuff we love about the Ranger, the fact it's good off-road, the fact that it does have some of the best ride and handling of any body-on-frame, leaf-sprung ute. However, we cannot look past the fact that this thing has now got compromises as a result of being plug-in hybridified and staying a Ranger. It is quite expensive. It starts at $71,990 for the XLT trim, which is very basic. I'm talking halogen headlight basic and cloth interior. And then this really cool looking one here, this is the Storm Track. I love the name. I love the way it looks. I do not love the price. It starts at
$86,990.
Now, all that is before on-road costs, but let's put this into perspective. Before on-road costs, a BYD Shark 6 will set you back $57,990, which is about $14,000 cheaper than the base model of this Ranger PHEV. Like I said, a very basic car. And then a top-of-the-line GWM Cannon Alpha plug-in hybrid with motorized seats in the back, massage seats up front, Napa leather, blah, blah, blah. Well, that is $4,000 cheaper than the base model of the Ford Ranger PHEV. So this thing is expensive, and then it has some other disappointing stats, which we'll get back to, like a small battery, really not the fastest as you've seen in the beginning of the video. There's just some things I don't love. But today I'm gonna tell you everything about the Ford Ranger PHEV and why I think, I hate to say it because there are some Ford people over there, but why I think it's probably one of the worst Rangers I've seen. Let's get into it. All right, before we talk about looks, very, very quick shout out to Samsung. They have sent us their Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultras. We have some really exciting stuff coming up, like a channel called CarSauce. So we'll leave that link down below. If you guys are into tech, make sure you subscribe. There's no videos there yet. That will be coming in the next few months. But yeah, trust me, you're gonna wanna stay tuned. We're about to start reviewing tech, baby. We'll come back to this later though. Let's talk about the way that this thing looks because I love it. I love the way it looks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Ranger, so it looks fantastic.
Fantastic. I especially love it in this Storm Track spec. It is definitely spenny, but it looks so damn good.
And it's just a chill grey.
It's a chill grey. That's the name of the paint.
A chill grey for a chill guy.
Yeah, love that Ranger. It's spelled out here, blacked out as well. You've got a huge grille. Got some inserts here instead of the LED lights. This is a weird thing. So because they're selling these in Europe, and Europe don't care about LED lights apparently, they do come with incandescent bulbs.
That is not great.
So versus the equivalent ICE version, the Wild Track, that comes with full LEDs. This does not. So interesting. Gloss plastic everywhere. As you can see, we've taken this thing off-road. Today's going to be a very comprehensive review. We really wanted to test the shit out of this, and so we have. We've launched it, driven it, launched it in EV mode. We've taken it off-road and yeah, a bunch of other stuff. So you're gonna see that today. So if you wanted something in depth, you're getting it. I love these C-clamp design lights here and also matrix LEDs because they're the performance LEDs, which is good. But again, you kind of expect that at close to 100 grand. Should we check out the side? All right, coming to the side, you're gonna see these general grabbers. We love general grabbers. These are some really good all-terrain tires actually, and they're 18-inch wheels as well. Although as you can see, these ones, they should be a different color, but they're not. They're dirt color.
I mean, yeah, I don't even know what the actual color is anymore. I've forgotten.
You have PHEV spelt out here. I do love that this is all covered as well. Storm Track is spelt out there. You've got 360 camera, keyless entry, and to go decals down the side. We wouldn't be a Storm Track without the sticker back. Got privacy glass as well. It's also got some really trick stuff that you will really only ever see on a Ranger. These bars up here are essentially integrated for putting things onto it very easily. So you can unfold them, fold them back in. They're a very good system. Same with this as well. So this is your sail plane at the back. But if you grab this, you can adjust it. Take it all the way to the back if you want. lift it up, have an extension for longer items as well. So a really really nifty system there. And I do love to see that. At the back here as well, you're going to see all of your leaves. This is actually a new suspension at the rear to account for the new weight distribution, because you've got a lighter engine up front with a petrol, and you have a new battery at the back. The whole total size of that battery is just over 16 kilowatt hours, but the usable is 11.8 kilowatt hours. So they seem to have built in quite a lot of zhuzh. It's like 50%.
I mean, it's 30%, but yeah, it's quite a bit.
I'm terrible at math. You've also got a side step here as well for easy access into the back. So yeah, it's a lot of really smart design. And versus a BYD Shark 6 and GWM Cannon, this has more compact dimensions, but it does not lose out on practicality. Let's talk about that. Alrighty, let's come to the arse of this thing now, which I have to say,
it looks pretty damn good.
It looks pretty damn good. I've always really liked these taillights. The only thing I don't like is that you do get halogen bulbs.
What the frick?
Yeah, not my favorite thing in the world. But anyway, Storm Track is spelt out there. I just love this badge. Love it. Ranger embossed into there, which also looks really cool. And here you get some, ooh, fancy black
gloss
plastic.
black.
Yeah, that's nice. And of course, you will see your towing bits here. So yes, this thing has 3.5 tons of towing, which is very impressive. Way better than what you'd find in a BYD Shark 6, which caps out at 2.5 ton, but the same as a GWM Cannon Alpha PHEV, which also is 3.5 tons. But still, for something that is battery powered, kind of, it's pretty good.
And also this thing will beat that in terms of payload too.
Yes, Daddy Jacob is right. This thing does have the best in class payload, at least for a plug-in hybrid. So it's 72 kilograms heavier than a Wildtrak, which means that its total payload is 808 kilograms, which is actually pretty damn good.
It's really good. They've managed to maintain the payload as much as they can while increasing the curb weight.
It also means that of all the plug-in hybrid utes, especially considering it has leaf spring suspension, it is the utiest of utes.
Very true.
And kind of the most practical. There is a downside though of having any plug-in hybrid, and if we press this roll top tonneau cover, which of course is included in this Storm Track, you're going to notice it. So you can see here that the bed has actually been raised up a little bit. I don't know how much, maybe like 3 to 5 centimeters has been lost in height wise. So what they've done to maintain the same literage as before, they've actually cut out into the tub these little spaces and towards the front as well. So technically it is the longest rate you can get on a Ford Ranger, at least dual cab, but it is slightly hampered in practicality purely because of the height of it.
Yeah.
The other thing you're going to notice, Daddy Jacob, if you just pivot yourself over that way.
I'm going to try to pivot myself smoothly.
Breaking the fourth wall here.
Oh, here we go.
Daddy Jacob is behind the camera.
Who would have guessed?
1638. We're being told it's 1638 millimeters long. The other thing you're going to notice here is you have your
Pro Power on board.
Okay, Pro Power on board stuff here. You got a couple of nipples. Pretty sure that's for your grounding stuff, although it hasn't been truly explained to me. You do have a button here as well. When you press that, that turns it off and on. And you have 2 outlets here. This thing again has best in class for practicality, really, because it's 6.9 kilowatts of V2L. That beats both the BYD Shark 6 and of course the GWM Cannon Alpha. It's also definitely the most advanced looking for sure. In fact, you'll see on the interior, it's got quite a lot of software that comes with it. So if you are a tradie, there is no doubt in my mind that this plug-in hybrid will be the best for your work. Don't think it'll be best for lifestyle, but certainly for work stuff, this all is very impressive.
Agreed.
And we asked the lead engineer about, can it handle, you know, really big currents when it just spikes randomly, for example, if you are welding or if you are powering a washing machine, whatever. And they've tested it at like 3,000 watts the other day, and it was totally fine with peaks. So kind of impressive, man.
Yeah, and like you said, it should be able to handle up to 6,900 watts as well.
So all pretty good,
yeah.
But it's a little bit downhill from here. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Alrighty.
Oh.
Daddy Jacob. I'm not going to say that was the best dog. This is really where we've been spoiled by Chinese cars, man. Let's keep in mind, guys, that this is an $86,990 car before on-road costs in this Storm Track trim. It feels okay. It doesn't feel that great.
No. And keep in mind, yeah, we just got back from China. We drove a lot of different BYD products, and yeah, I'll leave it at there.
So it's still good. In isolation, it's still a nice interior, and certainly as a Ranger, really, really nice. So soft touch material up here, but this is scratchy. This is nice and soft though, and so is this all nice and soft. I do like all the Storm Track stuff in here. Kind of looks like a Stormtrooper, maybe because I'm a big Star Wars fan.
Show them your watch.
Show them. I looked at it. I was so proud of myself. I went to Japan and got like one of 450 of these, and I will never stop telling everyone about it. And don't worry, it was cheap. It was like $400.
Why would we worry about that?
I feel like people are going to be like, let's get back to this. Storm track badging there. So something I've noticed is they've actually added damping to this top glove box. Now
Ooh.
opens much nicer, which is
Quality.
good. But look at this. Doesn't extend down here. Anyway, this is all nice and soft though. Here is a fast wireless charger. Oh.
What is that? That's not an iPhone.
Let's come back to this. Again, thank you, Samsung. We haven't been paid to do this. We're trialing out a partnership because we're launching a new channel, TechSauce, and we'll leave that link down below. Subscribe. There isn't any videos yet. There won't be for a little bit, but we're going to start doing tech reviews because Daddy Jacob and I do love tech. We've actually been shooting a lot of the shots that you see in this video on this Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra because we both have one. Where's mine? Uh-oh. And honestly, it has really impressed us. So if you want to learn more about this, we'll leave a link in the description below. So anyway, we've been using this for our wireless Android Auto as well, but there is of course wireless Apple CarPlay. Speaking of, this display is pretty good, although God, does it feel laggy now.
Yeah.
Especially compared to a GWM Cannon Alpha, it just feels a bit laggy. For the new Ranger PHEV, you do get a new mode called Pro Power on board. This is by far the most advanced software that you will find on pretty much any plug-in hybrid vehicle out there. They've definitely done a good job, and this definitely feels like the most work-ready. You know what I mean?
Totally agree.
So you can isolate the two different areas where vehicle to load can occur, the interior, in the back seats, and of course in the rear tub as well. You have a mode here called generator mode where the engine will act as a generator and it will still create, according to the engineers, 6.9 kilowatts of V2L, which is...
That's a lot of power output from this 2.3 litre engine.
100%. Something we can't test, but they say. And you've also got a ground fault test there as well. So yeah, definitely the best in terms of vehicle to load stuff when you are powering actual tools.
And being safe while doing so as well.
Exactly right. And that's just something they've nailed here. And actually really with a lot of the experience as well, except for driving, but we'll come back to that. The rest of the interior is very Ford Ranger. So you do get these leather seats that do feel a bit vinyl-y. If I'm going to be totally honest with you, you do have some suede though. That's quite nice. And I do like this blue insert that runs in the center, and also for your little
ding-a-ling.
Your little ding-a-ling, you get one. Storm track spelt out there as well with the stitching. You have your drive mode selector here. So yes, you do get a lot of modes, including a new sport mode, which we'll come back to when we launch this thing, which again is a little disappointing.
Let's just give a bit of a spoiler. 28 seconds.
In one mode.
I'll leave it there.
You've also got a new button here, which you would never have expected to see in a Ranger. It says EV. So when you press that, you can change between a few different EV modes. Again, we'll come back to that when we drive it. And of course, you still have your off-road mode button in there, and that brings up this display. You can lock the rear diff and turn on your hill descent control and see different metrics like the angle of your descent. Example. You have a storage space here, another storage space here with a little fries Easter egg in there. I always love that. You've also got a couple of cup holders as well. The door bins are a relatively decent size. And of course you have my favorite feature ever, cup holders in the dash. Again, every time I touch something, it just feels so bad compared to literally every other competitor, which is two. The GWM Cannon Alpha PHEV and the BYD Shark 6.
It's unfortunate because a couple of years ago, this was the class leader in terms of interior.
I really think that, especially at this price point, it has been so left behind by its competitors. It's almost at the point of being a joke. Like the fact that this is $86,990 and you get such a lackluster interior for almost 100 grand on the road. Especially when you can pick up a BYD Shark 6 for $57,990 and get an interior that feels luxurious compared to this. So yeah, guys, honestly, disappointed. Chinese cars have genuinely just dominated this space, and literally having gotten my ass out of a GWM Cannon Alpha just before, giving it back and sitting in this now, I just don't like it.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel as good as it used to.
No. Let's check out the back seats. Alrighty, guys. Back seats now of the Ford Ranger PHEV. Let's start by lifting it up, which is really easy to do. We can simply hook it onto that, and then you get a bit of storage, although this is all taken up by the towing stuff and the lift stuff.
Yeah, there's actually a lot less storage than before, mate.
Yeah, it's been slightly impacted, but anyway, we'll drop that. And of course you can lift forward the seat as well, really just to access your top tether points and not much more. Anyway, no electronics to slide the seats like you'd find in a GWM. Let's close the door though. Ooh. Tinny. You have heaps of leg room. Our toe room is pretty good as well, and headroom is okay, which is impressive considering that this car is smaller than both the BYD Shark 6 and a GWM Cannon Alpha. My legs, not the greatest angle, but they're okay.
I think that's to be expected of plug-in hybrids in this segment.
Yeah, plug-in hybrids, but also the fact that it's a body on frame. You get a couple of air vents here as well. You get another little nipple here, which is always good to see. USB-C port, USB-A port, and of course, this is where your vehicle to load plug is on the inside of the car. Say 230 volt, 10 amp power, and it's even giving you a readout.
Yeah, so 2.3 kilowatt max output.
That's pretty good. You also get matte pockets.
Yeah.
Not the nicest feeling, but this is at least all nice and soft. I don't know, I'm gonna leave it there. Look, the interior is just not as good as a Chinese competitor, even if it were the same price, but it's not. It's way more expensive and feels quite a lot worse. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. What do you think about the quality? Oh, I should point this out.
Nice.
Yeah, ticks the box. Of course, you don't have to pay that amount of money for one of these. You can get it for less. So if you want to get any new car for the best price possible, Google CarSauce Buy. We have a dedicated team of car buyers who are out there to get you the best price possible on any new car. Best of all, it is a totally free service for you because we charge the dealers a fixed fee, which also means we go in the hardest to get you the best price possible. You can join our thousands of happy customers. Just Google us CarSauce Buy. You will not regret it, and it's obligation free as well because who the f wants someone annoying you? Daddy Jacob? Let's launch it.
Let's do it.
Alrighty guys, we're gonna launch this thing. So when we launched the GWM Cannon Alpha PHEV, we got 0 to 100 in 6.37 seconds to be precise.
And that was just with you in the car
Yes.
as well. When I launched the Shark 6 on off-road terrain tires, I got 6.1 seconds.
These do have general grabber all-terrain tires on them. So maybe it's not gonna be the best case scenario, but it's also the lightest Ranger PHEV we could possibly get. So in a lot of ways,
We're giving it the best possible shot.
Let's put this thing into 4A, oh, it already is, which means we're in permanent four-wheel drive, and we're gonna put this thing into sport mode, which is a new mode.
Yeah.
Let's
do this.
see how fast it is from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, and it's a little downhill. You know, we're giving it the best shot possible.
Come on, Ford, we believe
Fist
in
me
you.
and fist me good. Here we
Ford
go.
that could. Let's do it. Oh, brake boost. Nice.
Nice bit of torque.
Pick up. Let's go.
Okay, 0 to 60. It feels like it's building. Come on.
Come on. Here we go. That's good. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh,
So,
no.
I can say off the bat, it's a very long way off from those competitors.
0 to 100 in 7.91 seconds.
Light as can be, downhill slightly, full battery charge. Yeah.
Whatever. Alrighty, let's try this thing normally.
Let's do it.
Alrighty, guys. Driving the Ford Ranger PHEV.
Not the Storm Track, though. We're in the cheapo.
We're in the cheapest one possible. Honestly, I wanted to give it...
Whoa! Just immediately send it.
I wanted to give it the best shot possible. So, on paper, this thing is disappointing. You get a 2.3 litre turbocharged petrol engine up front, and that on its own outputs
137 kilowatt of power, 411 newton meters of torque. And the reason why I made that, kind of like scrunched up face is because it's detuned from the other EcoBoost engine.
I wonder if that's like a reliability thing or something. They're just trying to be extra careful. And we both agree that's a bit weird.
That's not the reason. They answered the reason in the presentation, which is that they had a target combined output of 207 kilowatts, which is, by the way, the total power output of the engine. And that was their target. So they set the power of the EcoBoost engine according to that target.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
And the reason I think we're both a bit surprised is because if you look at the 2 litre turbo petrol that's inside of a GWM Cannon Alpha PHEV, that outputs, I think, like 200 kilowatt, maybe 180 kilowatts.
That's genuinely a
significantly
lot
more.
Yeah.
Significantly more.
Yeah.
And then there's the electric motor itself, which is sandwiched between the engine and the transmission, the 10-speed modular hybrid transmission, they call it. And that electric motor outputs
75 kilowatt of power, 300 newton meters of torque. So that brings the total outputs, like I said, to 207 kilowatt, 697 newton meters of torque. So very torquey, but quite down on power compared to other utes in the segment.
And as you saw with the launch, that does mean that, yes, this thing is relatively quick for a ute, but it's not quick for a plug-in hybrid ute. In fact, it's 20 to 30% slower than its competitors.
Yeah, and I mean, Ford are going to say like, oh, we wanted to make the Ranger PHEV still a Ranger, right? We didn't want to lose the characteristics that make a Ranger, and I can understand that from one perspective. But on the other hand, it just sounds like they're making excuses for why it doesn't compete against the other PHEVs in the segment.
I'm kind of glad we're going slow at the moment because it allows us to talk more about this thing. The other elements to it is the battery. So obviously being a plug-in hybrid, it needs to have a nice big battery.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
In fact, it's got 50% less capacity in its battery than a C-Line 6 standard range. So it's 11.8 kilowatts. That's small. That's a very small battery.
Yeah. I mean, the reason they've given for the size of the battery is that they still want to be able to fit the full-size spare wheel. But it's like, that begs the question. It's like, this is an all-new plug-in hybrid, so couldn't you have redesigned the car to account for both of those things?
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't know either. So yeah, it's a small battery. They claim a range of 49 kilometers. The real world range that we are seeing is about 40 kilometers, which Jacob has issues with this as someone who loves a bit of data, right? They said that the target range they had was about 40 kilometers. That's the average of every data piece they have collected from Ranger owners.
Yeah, so you, as a Ranger owner, you can actually opt into providing data back to Ford, and that allows them to improve their future products like this one, for example. Yeah. And they said, based on 5 million trips by Australians taken in their Ford Rangers, the average daily commute, as you send it sideways, is 40 kilometers a day. But they quoted average. I would be far more interested in what the median or the mode is. So, 40 kilometers can be very much skewed towards a lower number if the majority of people are just going 3 to 5 kilometers a day, for example, which would be a common commute, right?
Yeah.
So 40 kilometers to me doesn't actually sound like it represents the vast majority of Ranger owners to me.
So essentially what Jacob just said there, to dull that down for you and I, is the fact that the average might be 40 kilometres, but the median might actually be 100 kilometres. We don't know what the data is, and they probably won't give it to us, but that's okay. What we can talk about, though, are the cold hard stats, and that is that this gets about 30% the range of a Cannon Alpha at 40 kilometres. So when I was driving the Cannon Alpha PHEV, I was getting 120 kilometres of real-world range, 114 to be specific. Yeah. This is getting 40 kilometres. So when you consider that this car is more expensive than that, with a battery that's literally 30% the size, it's not as fast, it doesn't feel as refined, because if we come to a stop, you're going to see something.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we are on a downhill slope here. Yeah.
So the takeoff of this is not well tuned.
It's very jerky. It kind of throws your head back in the seat a little bit. It's not comfortable.
Yeah. The engine kicks on really quickly, so you might be hoping for like 1.9 litres per 100 kilometres, but good luck getting that. We're just in like a normal driving mode now. Okay, I don't know what to do. This person's stopped in the road.
Bloody Ford Falcon drivers,
yeah,
am I right?
Ford Falcons, am I right? Actually, you know what? This will be a great test of its overtaking. Let's put this thing into sport mode.
Been in China too long. Ooh.
So
bumpy.
Yeah, bumpy. That's another thing we'll come back to. But staying on the powertrain, yeah, it's disappointing. And I thought maybe it wouldn't be disappointing when I'd driven it. No, it's still disappointing. So the other thing as well is the charging. So it doesn't have DC fast charging. It's got AC charging, but the AC charging caps out at 3.5 kilowatts, which is really slow. It's really slow. So fine, the battery's small. It doesn't take too long to charge. Well, actually, that's not true. It still takes like 4.5 hours to charge.
And again, Ford had another statistic prepared for why this is. Like, are you noticing a trend, guys?
Yeah.
They had the explanations already prepared for why the stats are as poor as they are. Yeah. Apparently, 57% of plug-in hybrid owners, I don't know where they got this stat from, plug in their car at home. So that is a reason why they don't need to provide DC fast charging capability for this plug-in hybrid.
Yeah. And I guess they're kind of right. The battery is so menial. Mm-hmm. It's literally like at the point, if you got your GWM Cannon Alpha PHEV to 40 kilometers of range, it would probably throw up a recharge me light. You know what I mean? Like it's so small that, yeah,
that's a good point.
You're right. It probably doesn't matter, but it's still extremely disappointing.
Yeah. I will add though, you can actually use the EV charge mode, and what that will allow you to do is charge up the battery fully in around about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like your fast charging capability.
Destroying
your fuel economy.
Fuel economy.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Maybe we should talk about fuel economy real quick.
Yeah, well, on this drive, we're averaging 9.1 litres per 100 kilometres. And yes, if you're around town, you will probably get closer to zero because you'll be using more of the electric only range. Yep. But like I said, this car is tuned in such a way that I think it requires the power to come from the engine.
It genuinely does.
So it will kick on the engine all the time if you leave it to its own devices. So look at this, guys. Yeah, you can put this thing into EV only mode, and that's what we're in now. If we put our foot down, it won't kick on the engine. We can press OK to do that. Look how slow we're accelerating.
That is foot to the firewall.
Foot to the firewall. That'll be an interesting test.
A 0 to 100 in EV only mode.
Let's test that out.
Let's do it.
Now, I want to preface this by saying, this isn't indicative of real world. No one's going to be doing this, but let's just see how slow it is. The motor itself, I should say, is really slow. 75 kilowatt, nothing.
Nothing.
Torque is very good. Power is not good. Fist me.
I don't even know if we're going to get to 100, but let's try this.
Let's launch it in EV mode only.
It's kind of weird driving a Ranger in electric only mode. Okay,
I can feel it's so slow. I can feel the motor shifting with the transmission, so that is a good thing.
8.6 seconds to 60 kilometers an hour.
Okay,
right, come on.
We're not at 100 yet, we're at 80.
We got some momentum now, let's go.
Come on.
Dude, this could be the slowest 0 to 100 ever.
This might be worse than the MG ZS Hybrid. We're not at 100 yet.
By far it is. Oh my God.
Engine's kicked
on.
on.
It's kicked on.
Okay. 0 to 100 was 28.26 seconds.
Okay, I know that doesn't mean anything, but it's still hilarious. It's still
Well,
hilarious.
no, actually it does say something. It says that this electric motor is
business.
Is wimpy.
Yeah.
It's just wimpy.
This really is more of a traditional hybrid setup. It's not like the other plug-in hybrids that we're seeing where they rely a lot more on power from the electric motors. This still very much relies on that EcoBoost engine.
Okay, so that's probably enough slamming the drivetrain now. It is, though, like I said, it's just not as good as competitors. The one thing that I do like about the Ranger, though, is two things. One, it's actually the handling. So it does handle well. It's still probably the best handling versus a BYD Shark 6 and versus a GWM Cannon Alpha. It's got an Aussie tune to it, and it just suits our roads so well. So
100%.
you turn a corner and this thing is fantastic. Really, really good.
Very composed. It's not going to be as comfortable as those vehicles, but that is because it is riding on leaf spring suspension.
Exactly.
Obviously, we still want payload capacity, but yeah.
Exactly. And versus a regular Ranger, this has 5 springs instead of 4. So versus a Wild Track that comes with 4+1, they call it. This is 5+1. It's a firm ride without any weight in the back, but it's the most ute-feeling ute I've driven. You know what I mean?
And the weight balance has completely changed, obviously, because of the battery. So they've had to retune the entire suspension.
Everything's dying.
What's going on?
Yeah, so there is all of that. I think, to summarize the driving, it's disappointing. I thought it could possibly be better than it would be. I was really reserving my judgment as best as I could versus the stats. Did you see that? Did you see that takeoff?
It's too jerky from its standstill. It needs to ease into the electric motor power delivery a lot more than it does.
Yeah, so clearly I'm not taken by it. In fact, I would say it's just worse than a GWM Cannon Alpha and a BYD Shark 6. And really, for me, the redeeming factor of this car, or the biggest redeeming quality of it, is frankly just the way it handles, because it handles like a Ford Ranger. Just for a ute, it handles well.
And if I had to sum up this driving experience, have they managed to make the Ford Ranger a plug-in hybrid while keeping it as a Ford Ranger? Yes.
Yeah.
At the cost of just about everything.
Yeah. It doesn't do the whole plug-in hybrid thing very well. Alrighty, guys. Off-roading now in the Ford Ranger PHEV. So we're at a quarry, as you do. Now, they claim that every stat of this car is the same as an ICE version.
Including ramp breakover, which I was surprised by, because I thought the battery would affect that and all the underbody protection, but no.
They say the battery is armoured, which I believe. They say it has an 800mm weighting depth. They even say the breathers on the diffs and everything are at the right height. In fact, they're above 800mm, so you shouldn't mess it up. Let's put this thing into full low, because yes, it has a low-range transfer case. Like I said, the electric motor is sandwiched between the engine and the transmission, so everything transmission backwards, it's like a regular. Yeah. So it has a low-range transfer case, which is awesome. So let's do some.
We also have locked the rear diff, which...
Well, that doesn't sound like it.
That doesn't sound like it's the same ramp breakover angle, to be honest, but I'm glad the battery's armoured. We have locked the rear diff, as I was saying. Now I would estimate we're about to hit the battery again on this, which is terrifying slightly.
Maybe not. That was possibly just poor luck, but what in God's name. Anyway, and so I'm expecting it to off-road very well. I've actually been on this exact track with a Ford Ranger Tremor.
And I'm just curious, did it bottom out where we just bottomed out?
No, it didn't. It really didn't. Still, they're saying that this is a proper off-roader, so let's see. This does have some pretty gnarly angles and bits and bobs to it, so I do have to believe them. You know, I got to take them at face value, but that wasn't great.
And of course, you know, the normal Ranger had enough torque already for this kind of off-roading, so I would say that the extra torque is not going to really make much of a difference, though it does come in handy occasionally.
So where this will absolutely demolish a BYD Shark 6 is in the fact that you do have a rear locking differential and you do have a low range transfer case. However, where a GWM Cannon Alpha will demolish this, frankly, is that it does have more mechanical bits. It's got a front locking differential as well. And so even though in a lot of cases, you don't need a front locking differential. It still has it, if you know what I mean. What this does do really well is it has a bunch of off-road modes. So even with the EV, you still get slippery, mud ruts, and also sand. And what that does is it changes the traction control, it changes the throttle calibration, things like that.
Can I also just point out one thing as well that this doesn't have compared to like a Shark or a GWM Cannon Alpha, is this doesn't have the transparent chassis view. So we can't see what's going on underneath the vehicle. We can't really place the wheels as well as you could in those cars.
No.
You do get some useful camera views, but not the same as in a BYD Shark or a GWM Cannon.
Exactly. So even though this is just a little puddle, I guess it's
less than 800 mil, which is good.
I will say, like, it is still a Ford Ranger under the skin, and their goal was to make the most Ranger plug-in hybrid they possibly could. And honestly, I reckon they've achieved it. Like, this is a proper four-wheel drive. It really is. And it's going around this course, as we say that, as that Ranger in front of us struggles for traction, but it's going through this course with relative ease. Okay, so this is a pretty gnarly hill that we're about to go on. This camera's died, sorry, so you can't get this perspective, but this is a gnarly, very gnarly uphill slope. So let's see how this thing does. The good thing about this is, like I said, it does have the Ranger underpinnings. It's got good travel in its suspension, and it's going up here with relative ease.
Actually, no issue whatsoever.
Yeah. So this isn't easy. This part is not easy, despite what some people might think.
No, it's easy if you have a low range transfer case and a rear locker diff.
Yeah.
It's not easy if you're relying on software.
No. So a BYD Shark 6, that would genuinely struggle. And then this test here is a really good test of its wheel articulation, because frankly, it shows that this thing, yeah, like I said, proper off-roader. And so far, I am relatively impressed by the way it's going. I don't love the fact it bottomed out at that one point.
No, that was a bit surprising. It could have just been an unlucky angle that we took it, but still not great.
This thing is still a Ford Ranger, and I've done something similar in the Tremor. In fact, I did this exact thing. Yeah, it's going over it really well.
I don't think we're getting too much airtime on those tires because of that articulation, which is good.
With ease, honestly, with absolutely. And a lot of other utes would actually struggle. They would bottom out. They wouldn't have a good enough approach, departure ramp over angle. It does a good job. So I think off-roading, yeah, they've made a Ranger PHEV that is a Ranger. Alrighty, guys, let's get into our final thoughts. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Now, some of this video has been very negative, but there are people who will want to buy a Ford Ranger PHEV over a GWM Cannon Alpha or the BYD Shark 6. One, Ford has a huge network in Australia, and that does make a big difference. BYD have had lots of issues with theirs, and GWM are certainly getting a lot bigger, but they're not quite as big as Ford still. So there's that. The other thing that this thing does really well is all of its pro power onboard stuff. It is definitely the best for V2L. It can handle peaks that other brands simply cannot, and it's got all the equipment to do things safely. So if you're actually a tradie, I think you're going to really like this, and you want to power stuff. It's very good for that. The third thing is off-road. It is still a Ford Ranger. So yeah, it's good. It's a good off-roader. The fourth thing, payload and towing. This thing can tow 3.5 tons, and its payload is by far better than a GWM Cannon Alpha and way better than a BYD Shark 6. So yeah, it's got those things going for it. However, at being a plug-in hybrid, it is simply bad. It has a bad battery in terms of its size. It's so small. It's got poor range as well. The power out of this thing does not feel refined. I can't believe I'm saying a GWM Cannon Alpha PHEV feels more refined, especially from a standing.
Yeah, like that jerky kind of start was not quite right.
Not quite right. Also, I don't love the way it rides. It is still a ute, and that's the compromise you get from having leaf-sprung suspension and better payload. But when you compare it to the GWM Cannon Alpha or the BYD Shark 6, both of those are more comfortable from day to day. But then again, you don't get the payload, so there's that trade-off, I guess. And then there's the interior. Honestly, probably the most disappointing part for me. If you're spending close to $100,000 on the road, I would expect a much nicer interior, and the interior, frankly, feels poor. There's some things I like. It's fit for purpose for what it needs to be. However, if you're the average Joe Blow, I could not recommend this car to you. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you going to take one of these over a GWM Cannon? Oh, not to mention the price.
I mean, that is the elephant in the room, isn't it?
Truly, $15,000 more for a base model versus this. I mean, what's the delta? 30,000 almost?
Yeah. From the Shark compared to this spec, it's almost 30, yeah.
Let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Are you going to be rushing out to buy yourself a Ranger PHEV, or maybe just wait for the Super Duty, which I think is probably going to be a lot better in every way. Of course, if you did enjoy this video, please do subscribe, like, and share it with a friend, and actually comment down below, because I know that Ford are watching this. Let them know what your thoughts are. Maybe you love this thing, but give them some feedback as well, because like I said, they're going to be watching this. And if you want to buy one, you want a better price, CarSauce buy.
We can't get you 30K off though.
No, who knows? Honestly, who knows? And thank you, Samsung, again for the partnership. Subscribe to TechSauce because there's a lot coming up there. We'll leave that link down below. Ciao for now.
Bye-bye.